Welcome, everybody. Thursday, May 11th. John Aravosis here in Chicago, reporting for the Aravosis Report, coming to tell you about the latest news from Ukraine. As always, we're going to wait about 2 or 3 minutes for folks to arrive. I'm going to get TikTok rolling here on my laptop, on my desktop, my iPad. You're my laptop. And we'll wait 2 or 3 minutes for people to get the notice and to arrive, and then we will start the show. But at least, as always, for starters, just give a shout out where you are from, which I think is always kind of nice. And welcome. So, good news today. Actually, a lot of good news today, I think. A little creepy. Some creepy Russian news, of course. Hello, Belgium. Metallium. Welcome. Home of the wonderful waffle. I've been in Europe a ton of times. Never had Belgian waffles until a few years ago when I was there. And oh my God, no one had told me. I was in love. Anyway, hello, everybody. No sound? Still no sound. Okay, let me try it again. Here, let me plug this in one more time. All right, plug it in my mic one more time for TikTok. It should give sound, but then let's see if it comes on again. Well, I unplugged it. Now it's plugged in. Is it working now? Or is it no sound again? Okay. Okay, I was seeing like differences here from you guys. Sound now. Okay, just make sure everything's plugged in well. It does that. Sometimes TikTok just doesn't register the sound. But see, it should be microphone, right? Microphone's working. My cheap little but very good microphone that works quite well for TikTok and my phone. So, hey, Jeff from the UK. Anyway, hello, everybody. As always, we'll wait like another minute for folks to arrive from TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, etc., and then we will get rolling. But the Belgian waffles, Paul is saying not a fan of waffles. I'm not a big waffle fan, which is why I never ate the Belgian waffles. Oh my God. I was visiting Ghent, wonderful town in Belgium with friends. And we were at a big music festival thing they have. I'm not a big music guy. So my friends went to see a jazz concert. I hate jazz. So I was like, I'll go walk around. And I'm in this town square and they're selling waffles and people are getting them. And I was like, all right. So I got it. And they were like, oh, you want some cream? I was like, oh, I was like, what are you eating on a waffle? I'm like, okay. How about some chocolate? I was like, oh, I like chocolate. Okay. And I'm eating this thing. I've told you guys this before. It was like eating a massively freshly cooked chocolate chip cookie. Oh my God. It was not a waffle. Like what Americans think are waffles, this was not a waffle. A huge gooey chocolate chip cookie was this Belgian waffle. Oh my God. So all I say is if you go to Belgium, try one if you're a sweets person because it ain't a waffle. Anyway, all right, guys, welcome. I guess I'll start the show. I was waiting for folks to arrive here. Hello, Riga, Latvia. I am John Aravosis. Welcome. This is the Aravosis Report, my nightly show that I do at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, U.S. Hey, Crutch on Twitch, U.S. every Monday to Friday. And basically the way the show works is I go through the news, look for what I think are the most important stories, and then walk you through those stories, tell you why I think they matter, and tell you what I think is actually happening behind the scenes as a foreign policy expert and journalist and etc. myself. The way we will do this is I'll go through the news the first half of the show. Second half of the show, you guys can submit questions on TikTok. Very easy. Submit your questions via the Q&A link that's in my profile. You can always do them on the screen, but they kind of flip by quickly. So it's easier to do the Q&A link because that way they're in a list and I won't actually miss them. For you guys on YouTube, at Twitch, etc., feel free to leave your comments at the bottom. Again, during the first half of the show, they kind of fly by. I may not see them. Second half, I'll definitely see them. But I also very much appreciate your guys' gifts because I do this full time. I've been doing it full time since the war broke out. This is literally my job. And the only people who pay me to do this job are you guys. So your gifts on TikTok make a huge difference. I mean, quite literally, your guys' gifts are, I'd say, half of my Ukraine salary probably come from the gifts just from TikTok and YouTube and Twitch and everybody else. So please do keep the gifts coming. On TikTok, I will always try to do a shout out when I see the gifts pop up on the screen. On YouTube, the super chat, super stickers. Again, I'll do a shout out. Super chat questions. Thank you for the hat there, Fred. Super chat questions. I will always get to those as the next thing I talk about. So like, even if I'm in the first part of the show that's news, if you have a super chat question, I will make that the next thing I talk about as a thank you for your guys' gifts. So let's get rolling. Saturday, really quick, Eurovision Song Contest has nothing to do with Ukraine this year, except it does because it was supposed to be in Ukraine. It's in UK instead. So they're devoting a lot of it to talking about Ukraine. We're going to watch it together. We did this last year. It was a lot of fun. I will be live on TikTok, live on Twitch. You guys YouTube, all the places you're watching me right now. I've got iPad and laptop, just so you guys know why I'm going back and forth. But Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern time US, we'll go live, and we hang out and watch the show together. I will not beam it. We can all watch it on our televisions, but it's been kind of fun. And I'm going to have a couple little extra gifts, freebies that I'll give out from our auction supplies and things like that, but it'll be a lot of fun. All right, guys, let's get rolling. So I first want to talk about these the British missiles. What a great story. So it is confirmed the British missiles are in Ukraine. It's done. Now, we've been talking for a few days now about this, about basically, it popped up in the news like 2 days ago that Britain was preparing to send longer range missiles to Ukraine. And we all kind of went, what? Is this true? What do you mean preparing? What does that mean? Like, when will it happen? And then we found out, oh, they're already there. It's a done deal. They're there. This is hugely important. These missiles currently, the missile, little early, Kukla. Hey. Oh, hello. You two. Okay, that's enough. Hey. Oh, God. Okay, sorry. I've got the dog. Hey, Sasha, no. The dogs are killing each other. All right, Kukla, you're banished. No, you're out of here. Here, you do a quick hello. This is Kukla, everybody. All right, get out of here. Go. Jeez. She'll be back. Oh, my God. She'll be back. That's my mom's dog. She usually waits. Oops, get my mic here. Oops. That's mom's dog that usually waits until about an hour into the show before she starts screaming for attention. And she decided to do it right now. Right now. Oh my God. Now I did see actually that it glitched for a second on you guys. You guys glitched for a second and went off and came back. So I don't know. I'm seeing the TikTokers mention it too. So hopefully the internet isn't being a little evil today, or the evil Russians have gotten to us somehow. Ruh-roh. So check this out. Okay. Oh God, no, not again. No. Peacock is going to be streaming again with Johnny Weir as the host. Oh God. He's so horrific. He's super pro-Russian, but I mean, in a sick way. He was upset that all of us were boycotting Russia for the LGBT stuff years ago. Oh, Johnny Weir is such an embarrassment. Oh God. Well, oh God. I may not have a choice but to watch Peacock, because what else is there? Anyway, if there's another way of watching it, I'll be doing that instead of Johnny Weir, but for Eurovision. In any case, okay, let's talk about these missiles. Thank you for that, Lilia. The missiles are huge. The previous missiles we've been giving Ukraine have been, thank you, Louis, the previous missiles go around 60 miles, 100 kilometers max, okay? That's the current missiles we were giving, the U.S. was giving. Biden was very opposed to giving longer range missiles. Honestly, now, I don't know what the hell Biden. I mean, I have no idea what the deal was with Biden on this, to be honest. But Biden was refusing to give longer range missiles. At first, we heard it was because he was afraid the Ukrainians were going to attack Russia with those missiles. And the Ukrainians were like, no, we won't. So we promise you we're not going to attack Russia. Biden was like, didn't believe him. Then we heard that no, he was actually afraid of pissing off Putin, and he didn't want to make Putin angry, because if Putin gets angry, like I said, it's like the Hulk and he turns green and big, but that Putin would use his nuclear weapons, whatever the hell. Well, that doesn't make sense either, because basically the Britain goes and gives these longer range weapons to Ukraine now. The British weapons go anywhere from 240 to 300 kilometers, maybe even longer. But publicly, this is the available information. Typically, these things go longer than we know publicly. Or 150 to 200 miles is the range that these things can go. They're fired from airplanes. Now, the Biden supposedly was okay with this. Okay. Thank you, Dora, for the hat there. Biden would have had to sign off anyway. I mean, just the way it works in the coalition, clearly the U.S. would have had to sign off on the Brits doing this. Thank you, Thomas or Tomasi. The question is, why would Biden be okay with this? Then there's a report in Politico that says, oh my God, the Biden administration is actually happy because it'll take the pressure off people criticizing them. So they're breathing a sigh of relief that because we were criticizing Biden saying, give them our long range missiles that we've got here in the US. They're called ATACMS. Well, again, this whole thing makes no sense to me. Either Biden thinks these missiles are going to cause World War III or he doesn't, but it's not like it's safer to give British missiles than to give American missiles. Either way, the missiles can attack Russia, and either way, the missiles either will or won't provoke Vladimir Putin to use nukes. I would therefore say the concern about hitting Russia is BS. The concern about them provoking nuclear war is BS. Otherwise, Biden wouldn't be okay with the Brits doing it, which then still leads me to figure out why the hell did Biden have a problem sending these things. Now, sure. Thank you, Frank, for the crowns on TikTok. It is possible, not possible. One of the reasons, sure, is overall we would like Europe to pitch in more, just because even though the Poles and the Estonians, for example, have given more per capita than any of us, like basically by the size of their country or the size of their GDP, their economy, they've given a lot more than any of us. By the actual raw numbers of dollars, the U.S. has given more weapons than anybody else. And because of the problems at home with Donald Trump and the Republicans and everything else, or some of the Republicans, at least the MAGA Republicans, sure, it's better for Biden if we start to see the Europeans give more. Also, and this part I frankly don't understand, Biden absolutely is very worried about this whole idea of Russia painting the war as really being America versus Russia. Who cares? But I know, I say this as a foreign policy specialist myself. I couldn't care less what Russia paints the war as. Russia's going to lie no matter what. This is something that always drove me nuts in politics. I'd be consulting with, I worked for Planned Parenthood once as a consultant 20 years ago. And I suggested something they should work on. And they said, oh, well, but if we do that, Rush Limbaugh will criticize us. And Rush Limbaugh was this huge guy on the right, big radio show, very conservative and very bombastic, right? And I was like, Rush Limbaugh's going to criticize you anyway. I just don't get the idea of anyways, sorry. Thank you for the marvelous confetti there. Who was that real quick? Oh, it says, doesn't show me who you are. That was weird. It's not showing me your name. Thank you, whoever that was. That was kind of weird. Maybe it was Paul WLC. In any case, let's just go back to this. So I don't know why Biden's doing this. I don't know why Biden's not chipping in. The Brits are. It's huge. Now, why does it matter? The current missiles we're giving go between, like I said, 50, 60 miles, 100 kilometers. Okay, that's about it. Thank you, Pamela, for the gift. The missiles that now are going from the Brits, instead of going 60 miles, will be able to go 200 miles. Instead of going 100 kilometers, they might be able to go up to 300 kilometers or even more. What that means is the Ukrainians will now be able to hit anywhere within Ukraine that the Russians are hiding. Now, here's why it matters, okay? If you look at the map, this is the territory that Russia currently occupies, okay? All of this and this. Crimea they took in 2014, and then all of this, basically, more or less, where my fingers are going here, okay? 60 miles is not going to get, so the Ukraine can fire from anywhere where Ukraine controls. So from here or up. Well, 60 miles is not going to get you all the way down here or all the way down here, right? So all the Russians have to do is move their weapons and move their command and control, their military headquarters, everything else more than 60 miles away, and the Ukrainians can't hit it. Well, now with missiles that can go 200 miles or 300 kilometers, the Ukrainians can hit anything here. Russia would have to move its weapons back to, and its command centers back to Russia itself here, which is just a pain in the butt if they've got to move that far away. Or down here, that have to literally move into the sea, and they can't do that. So that's great. Crimea, this means the Ukrainians can now hit Crimea, all of Crimea, the Ukrainians can hit Kerch Bridge. We know about the Kerch Bridge, right? That's the bridge that got blown up. We think it was the Ukrainians. Nobody knows, but we think it was the Ukrainians before. And this is the main supply line that the Russian troops occupying Crimea. Oh, thank you for the gift there, Len. And occupying Kherson and Zaporizhia too, that the main supplies are coming via the Kerch Bridge, because Russia's over here, actually. You can't see it on my map, but Russia's right here across the bridge. That's why the bridge is so important. And Russia's here, so Russia provides supplies by land going into here. So knocking out the Kerch Bridge, huge. These missiles are just a huge game changer. Going into the counteroffensive, especially because now Ukraine could knock out more supplies, knock out troops, you name it. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the user and user for the hat and mustache, and Happy Beach for the pause. Sorry, I did have a super chat, it seems. Hang on. Oh, the map for Roshin. You're funny, Stephen. Okay. Map for Roshin. There we go. Map for Roshin. I don't know why I've got like this desire for a chocolate milkshake right now. I have no idea. It's kind of strange. It just like hit me when I'm talking to you guys. I think because we talked about those stupid Belgian pancake or the Belgian waffles at the beginning of the show. And now I'm like, I want a chocolate milkshake. A few more things on these missiles that were interesting. So I was looking at this and trying to figure out how far do these missiles, not how far, how much do they cost? I was assuming these missiles were very expensive, and in fact, they are. They cost 2 million pounds each missile. They cost, that translates to $2.5 million or 2.3 million euros per missile. That means the Ukrainians are not going to be using these missiles like, just cuz, okay? Right? $2 million a missile, right? Hang on. That causes a few problems. One, because of the cost of the missiles, it's going to limit how many Ukraine gets, right? Because it's not like they're $20,000 or $50,000 missiles. If they're 2 millions of missiles, Britain's going to give probably fewer of them, right? That's the first thing. Now, the Brits do have anywhere between 700 and maybe 920 of these missiles, I was hearing. Depends sort of what source you read, but bottom line is even 700 missiles is a lot. They wouldn't give them all away because they need them, but they don't use them that often. Who knows? Could the Ukrainians get only 50? Could they get 100? Who knows? So that's the first problem. Because of the cost, they're going to use fewer of them because they're only going to use them for really high value targets because they're $2 million. But B, because of the cost, they're probably getting fewer of them anyway, which means, again, they're going to have to ration them out. So I just think it's interesting because I'm not sure what targets, maybe some of our military folks would have to weigh in. I'm not sure what kind of target merits $2 million versus not $2 million, right? So for example, you probably would for sure go after enemy headquarters. Those would be great. Take out the generals, things like that. Crew barracks, maybe. The Ukrainians did it New Year's Eve. They took out, they hit some crew barracks that were like 500 soldiers inside. Remember, that was the one where the Russians were incredibly stupid because they put a bunch of ammunition either in the building or next to the building. So the ammunition went up and the whole building went up with all the Russian troops. Idiotic. That's probably worth it if you can get 500 troops. But you see what I mean? You got to do that calculus of what's worth going after, what isn't. Thank you for the pancakes there, Len. Let me see if there's anything else here. Oh, finally, Russia isn't very happy. I kind of loved this. The Russians are always putting out statements about things that make them sound like they just don't know what they're doing. Listen to this. According to the Kremlin spokesperson, Russia is extremely negative. But imagine saying this about yourself. You're extremely negative? Russia is extremely negative about the supply of Storm Shadow long-range cruise missiles by Britain to Kyiv. An adequate response will be required. So first of all, Russia's extremely negative, whatever the hell that means. And Russia's response will be an adequate response. The thing is, it's like they can't find anybody who speaks English over there. But I'm serious, like this, the reason I bring this up isn't to mock Russia, but it's again to show kind of how out of touch they are and how much they don't, that they literally, after all these years, how do you not have somebody who spent 10, 20 years living in the US or something, or Britain, who literally speaks English normally? But no one would say extremely negative. Who would say that, right? Russia's extremely, even if you say it in Russian, this is a ridiculous thing to say, extremely negative. I just think it's great. And an adequate response. Okay, well, you'll have an adequate response. Adequate response almost sounds like we're going to respond, but only just enough to be a response, right? An adequate response. That's not a massive response anyway. Also, what are they going to do? Commit genocide? Like bomb civilians? Anyway, this is great news from the Brits. What's going to be very interesting is to see with the counteroffensive, and let's talk about that next with Bakhmut, with the counteroffensive, just what happens next with this. What will the Ukrainians go after? Will they launch a massive attack of these missiles right before the counteroffensive? Will they wait for a while? Because also you could wait until the counteroffensive goes on and the Russians are doing it well, and then the Russians need to move their supplies closer. Who knows? Or are you waiting to move a little bit further south? Right? Are you waiting to take a little more land south so that it's even easier for you to hit the Kerch Bridge and some other places? I don't know. We'll see. Robert Lee Bennett. Oh, with a very generous question there. Thank you, Robert. Could be Biden is saving ATACMS for Taiwan to use if the PLA attacks? Maybe. That's been thrown out there. That, is Biden trying to save some of these weapons thank you, Daniel, rather than giving them to Ukraine, he's saving it in case we go to war with China, which there's concern about that in the next 4 years or longer. Maybe, the thing is the military experts have said they don't feel like there's a lot of overlap. At least the people I read, they don't feel like, that there's a lot, also because a lot of what is happening with Taiwan is well, although could be ATACMS, who knows? But generally speaking, Taiwan, it's an air attack and a sea attack, by land coming in, storming the beaches kind of thing. With Ukraine, it's there's not a lot of air. It's actually a lot of ground going back and forth, right? The front line between the forces. Anyway, not a lot of folks saying that, but who knows? Honestly, what bothers me is I feel like we're hearing so many different, again, I'm not happy about Biden about this. You guys know this. I feel like we're hearing so many different stories from Biden on this, and I'm not happy about that because he gave us 2 excuses. And now that the Brits are giving their weapons, Biden's excuses go out the window, right? Again, if you were afraid of nuclear war, if we gave them the weapons, well, guess what? The Brits are giving them the weapons. So either we're having the nuclear war or we're not. The U.S. might as well give our weapons too, right? So basically, I feel like I was lied to a little bit, and I don't like that either. Anyway, again, he's annoying me. He's annoying me. I will bash Biden. You can feel free to leave, Jeff. I will tell you, I will not. This show is going to be about what's going on with Ukraine. Biden is going to screw up sometimes. Trump is going to screw up even more. You might want to hang out till I get to the part where we talk about Trump on CNN last night, because that's when the Trumpers are then going to say, I'm not staying. So sorry, bucko, but I am not here to make you happy. Thank you, Bam, for the hat and mustache. I am here to talk about what's going on in Ukraine. And when Biden screws up, we're going to talk about Biden. And when Trump screws up, which he really did last night, we're going to talk about Trump. So that's the way it's going to be. I'm sorry, but, as they said to me at one of my law jobs once, this is not a happiness factory. Of course, that was really obnoxious at the law job because they were talking about a job where literally everybody hated their job. And when they were told that the job was horrific and all the staff hated their job, the top boss said, this is not a happiness factory. So it was actually kind of obnoxious when he said it. But all right, Bakhmut. So Bakhmut, talking more about the counteroffensive. Bakhmut, Ukrainian town, eastern Ukraine, right here. The Russians have been trying to take it for 11 months. Kind of confusing because it's not clear why the Russians have been trying to take it. Defense analysts in the East don't think that this matters, frankly, Bakhmut. But nonetheless, that's what's going on. The Russians have lost a lot of men. The Ukrainians have done very well. Ukrainians very smartly. Oh, thank you for the gift there. Oh, who was that? Come on, show me. TikTok changed the settings. I think I told you guys this before, and it throws things like the gifts go flying off the screen before I can see who gave them to me. Ugh. Okay, I'm sorry, whoever just did that. It will not show me who just gave me that gift. All right, mods or somebody, if anybody sees what it was or can tell me, I'm happy to do a shout out. I'm sorry. Sometimes I see the gift, but sometimes it just does that. Ucrania no está perdiendo, está ganando, porque hace 441 días que la guerra persigue, ¿cómo se dice? Continúa. Anyway, hardly. Sorry, now we're getting Spanish-speaking trolls coming in, which I'm kind of impressed, at least. I'll give the Russians credit for that. The only problem is you're kind of coming to the wrong forum. If you're coming to throw, troll comments in Spanish, it doesn't really work very well in an English setting, because I guarantee you, I speak Spanish. Most of these people probably don't. But hey, why should I tell you how to do your job? Feel free to keep, spreading your propaganda in Spanish. Again, this is why you're losing the war, if I may just say as well. Well, no, but that's a perfect example, though. Why are you spamming an English language account with Russian propaganda? Go to the Spanish accounts. I mean, are you guys, come on, some pride in your work. So Bakhmut. So there's Bakhmut in the east. There's been some crazy reports today about this. Yesterday we learned, and I think it's true, that the Ukrainians got a little bit of Bakhmut back. I'm talking, if Bakhmut's like this, the Ukrainians got like this much back. It was very small. It was like literally a couple kilometers by a couple kilometers, so like a couple miles by a couple miles. It was small. Okay, yeah, 2 kilometers. Otan Bat saying. I mean, it was small. Today, there are more reports from Russian military bloggers that the Ukrainians are pushing the Russians back in Bakhmut, and the Russians are getting worried that some of the Russian troops might even be surrounded, some of them by the Ukrainians, which is really bad, because then it means you're literally losing the troops, which is not good for the Russians. It's just very interesting. Again, let's see kind of where this goes. I mean, literally, it was just sort of rumor today. It was some Russian bloggers that were there that were complaining, but it's still kind of funny because basically Russia was supposed to win Bakhmut, months ago. I mean, back in January, we thought Russia was going to take Bakhmut. Certainly several weeks ago, I was telling you about, I forget which expert on Sky News, military expert, was saying 2 or 3 weeks ago, oh, within the next 3 days or so, they're going to lose Bakhmut. And then the Ukrainians are taking some of the land back. Now, why it matters, Russia needed Bakhmut in terms of sort of morale. Russia has not won anything in a long time in Ukraine, right? Since last fall, when the Ukraine, not even since last fall, since before then, last fall, the Ukrainians pushed Russia out of northern Ukraine and eastern Ukraine. They were looking for success. I think Bakhmut was the success they were looking for. Putin, we believe, thank you, Kanowski, for the flowers. Putin, we believe, had ordered the military to take Bakhmut 2 days ago. So basically by May 9th, which was the big day they were celebrating with the World War II celebrations. They didn't take it. So that's why it's important, even if it's a small amount of land. The Russian troops were supposed to take Bakhmut 100% 2 days ago, and now they're actually losing some of the land. That's just horrible. But great. I mean, great for Ukraine. So that's what's up with Bakhmut. Let me see. I don't think I had anything else about Bakhmut. Thank you, Danielle, for that. Oh, our truck fundraiser. All right. I am going to give you I'm not going to keep pitching this, actually, because tomorrow we're going to have to buy the truck. This has now been raised to urgent rather than wouldn't it be nice. We are raising money to get a pickup truck for Ukrainian National Guardsmen, Unit A3107, if anybody wants to check, but we know these guys, it's real. They need a pickup truck. They just finished fighting in Bakhmut, which we were just talking about. You will not be surprised to hear, because Bakhmut has been a hellhole for months. The Russians have been dying more than the Ukrainians, but the Ukrainians are still, getting hurt. Their vehicles got destroyed in Bakhmut by the Russians. They need a new vehicle. Vlad told me, I knew stuff was coming for them, but I wasn't telling you guys. Vlad just told me and said, I can tell you, they just got orders. They have to leave Sunday night. So Sunday night, they've got to go to their new front, which I'm not going to say, and they need their new pickup. We have already raised 4,600 plus 970 gives you like 5,500 or so. Basically, we need another $830 to get these guys their pickup. If you can help, I'd very much appreciate it. 100% of the money is going to the Ukrainian troops. We're not taking a dime. They're not taking. Vlad's not taking a dime. He's actually literally showed me the vehicles. He's like helping them find the vehicles to buy. If you can help, you can go to my profile. Thank you, Kanowski. You can go to my profile on TikTok, click the Linktree link, and the first thing that comes up will be the PayPal information for Vlad. Clicking it won't help once you get there. You've literally got to go into your PayPal and just use Vlad's address. Thank you, whoever said they're sending a gift. Oh, thank you, Annie. I appreciate that. And for the rest of you, I will give you Vlad's PayPal, because I can put it on the screen here. That's Vlad's PayPal. But you can also go to my link anyway, go to the aravosis.com link, because sometimes PayPal, when you're sending money abroad, it asks you for the exact full name of the person. And I give you Vlad's full name. Full disclosure, Vlad's name is spelled differently in his Gmail, which is his PayPal address, than it is his full name in PayPal. And this is because Ukrainian names are a disaster in English, because the Ukrainian alphabet is the Russian alphabet, or I should say the Russian alphabet's the Ukrainian alphabet. It's the Cyrillic alphabet. It's like writing in Greek. And when you translate it into English, my cousin has my last name in Greece. He spells it differently in English. And once I tried to tell him, I was like, that's not the way it's spelled in English. Like, I know how our name is spelled in English. Everybody spells differently. So Vlad literally has 2 different English spellings of his name. So if you go to PayPal, and now because people have asked me, they've gone, are you sure that's him? It's him. And we've been doing this for a year with Vlad. We've sent pretty much $100,000 to Ukraine via you guys and all these donations through our auctions and everything else. So if you can help, I'd really appreciate it. But as I said, we need $830. This is real. 100% is going to buy this truck for the Ukrainian troops, the National Guard troops that are getting assigned. They have to leave Sunday night for their next front. They've been fighting in Bakhmut all these months. It is a way, thank you, Kanowski. It is a way for you to give some donations that are literally going for something concrete. You will be a part owner of that truck. I mean, you won't really own it, you know what I mean? But you literally will be responsible for sending a truck there. The PayPal, go to my, mods, if you want to tell people after this, they can go into my profile on TikTok, click the Linktree link, and the PayPal address will be the first description that comes up, gives you the PayPal address. And then you just go into PayPal and, type in the address yourself. It won't be an actual link. All right, guys. Thank you for this. All right, let me keep going then. More on that Polish missile. So this is a really weird, the story's just getting weirder and weirder. So somebody had asked yesterday, and I didn't realize, but it looks like you might have been correct. Somebody was asking and said, "Is this the missile that fell in November?" And I thought you meant the the Ukrainian S-300 missile that ended up crashing in Poland, which was Ukrainian, right? Well, today we're finding out that this Russian missile, it's a KH-55, I guess, Russian missile. Thank you, Timothy, and who is it? Erland Osel? Erland. I'm going to get your name wrong, but thank you for that. That this missile the Poles found in a forest in Poland was in fact a Russian missile. At first, we were hearing they found it a month ago. Now it sounds like they might have found it 5 months ago. It's a little confusing, but what's weird to me is listen to this. Listen to this from the news today. Polish defense minister says that on December 16th, 2022, the Polish Armed Forces Operational Command was informed of a possible missile heading towards Poland, but they failed to inform the defense minister of the situation. Okay, there's a foreign missile heading towards your country. You are bordering a war between your friend Ukraine and your worst enemy, Russia, who you've been enemies with for hundreds of years. And there is now a missile, a foreign weapon missile heading towards your country, and nobody thinks to call the defense minister? I cry BS on that front. That is not true what he's saying. There is zero chance that that's true what he's saying. Could you imagine? Hey, Stanislav, it's a missile. Let's have more vodka. But it's coming to Poland from Russia. Why do we care? I mean, no, it didn't. This is not true. But failed to inform him. Polish media. Anyway, so there you go. There's something weird about this story. I mean, clearly, look, exactly. Shit. Oh, I'm not saying shit happens. Shit happens. The Russians attack. What's going on here? Yeah, it's only one missile. If it was two missiles, maybe three, but one. I think what's going on here is, look, this missile, they knew when it came. They knew whose missile it was. They knew it was Russia's once they found it. They talked to the U.S. Poland, my guess is Poland probably wanted to go ballistic on Russia, and the U.S. talked them out of it. That's my guess. I think the U.S. talked them out of it, and that's what's going on. And now they're trying to find a reason to explain why they blew it off for 6 months. They blew it off because they were asked to blow it off. I think that's what's going on. But I mean, they failed to inform you that you were under attack from Russia. Come on. I mean, come on. Anyway, it made me laugh. Ukraine reportedly today attacked Russia, two different parts of Russia, including an electrical substation and an oil depot in two different parts of the country. Good. There was thank you, Eli. There was an assassination attempt carried out against a Russian-appointed court chairman in Melitopol, all the way down here, occupied by the Russians, Ukrainian city. Remember, the Russians are occupying all of this. What's been interesting, especially in Melitopol, actually, a lot of it's been in Melitopol, this area in particular, the Ukrainians have got a great resistance network. They've been killing Russians left and right as far as Russians or Ukrainian collaborators. Basically, Ukrainians who, once the Russians invaded, the Ukrainians said, well, yeah, we'll help the Russians, run their dictatorship in Ukraine, which could be this person. If they're a judicial person in Melitopol, they could be a Ukrainian who basically is working in the courts and helping the courts convict Ukrainians of being bad Russians, right? I mean, it's horrific. So they've been blowing people up. Usually it's been car bombs. I should say bombs in general. It's been car bombs. It's been IEDs on the ground. They blew up one guy. They put a bomb under his mother's porch. Didn't blow up the mother, but they waited until he went to visit his mom and blew him up. One of the other guys, they blew up his office. I mean, it's kind of amazing what they've been doing. Now, one point to bring this up as well is this is what's going to happen if the war does not end on Ukraine's terms. If Russia keeps a lot of this land, what's going to happen is, going through my questions here to make sure I did. Okay. Oh, Michael, I don't know if I saw that. Hang on. Okay. I didn't see Michael's question from earlier. Bakhmut is over here. Michael had a super chat question to try to get the map again. This is where Bakhmut is on the map. Thank you, Michael. I'm afraid I may not have seen your question earlier. So thank you. In any case, so that's good news that they've got the partisans. I was going to say, if the war gets settled and Russia's occupying territory, this stuff's going to keep happening. Russia's going to have to deal with terrorist attacks. I mean, you can call them terrorist attacks. They probably are terrorist attacks, but they're justifiable terrorism, as far as I'm concerned. And anybody who knows me knows that that's not a new thought from me. I think actually, this stuff is totally valid when you're under occupation, and like this, it's valid. Certainly in Ukraine, it's certainly valid for my tastes. Let's move on. Donald Trump. Yeah. So basically, Donald Trump last night during the town hall on CNN. CNN has Trump on. They had a bunch of thank you, Ben, for the super stickers. They have Trump on. They've got a bunch of Trump fans in the audience, and asked him about Ukraine and said, who do you want to win the war? He's not taking sides. He just wants the dying to stop. And they said, but do you want Ukraine to win the war? I'm not taking sides. Do you think Putin's a war criminal? I'm not going to say. He wouldn't say Putin's a war criminal. He claims, of course, he can end the war in a day because, Trump. Let me see, there was one other thing. Thinks the U.S. is sending too many weapons, and he's not going to, no big surprise here, he's not going to commit to keep supporting Ukraine if he wins the presidency. Trump is not going to support Ukraine if he wins the presidency. Trump is going to support Vladimir Putin. Absolutely, positively. I mean, again, say what you will about him either way. He made very clear whose side he's on. Yeah, he did have to put some sanctions on Russia during his term. Didn't really have a choice, but he did. But otherwise, Trump is, hang on here. Thank you, Benji, for the corgi. He's made clear all along he can't stand Ukraine. Somebody got in his ear and told him Ukraine collaborated with Hillary and tried to steal the 2016 election from him. He then had the really crazy stuff when he tried to get Zelensky to help him go after Biden for the 2020 election, and Zelensky refused, and it got Trump impeached. So Trump cannot stand. Remember, Trump does not like people who either don't agree with him, who call him out, who get him in trouble. Ukraine is all of those. So he's not going to help Ukraine. And he already was in Putin's pocket from the beginning, and we know that. So bad news for Ukraine. This is nothing new. A lot of people didn't think CNN should have done the broadcast, but what do you do? But it was not great. Big surprise. All right. So that was Louis with the heart, I think. Thank you, Louis with the heart. Discord. So really quick, we've got a Discord community. Please check it out. You can find it at discord.aravosis.com. You can also find it via the link in my profile with you guys. Again, my Linktree link in TikTok. Click through, scroll down. You'll see my Discord. For you guys, you can, bottom of the screen, either aravosis.com or the Discord link that I've got there. Discord is basically a chat community. It's a lot of fun. We talk about stuff all day. We talk a lot about Ukraine. I'd say the majority of our conversations are Ukraine, but we also talk about recipes and pets and other issues and sports and you name it. But a lot of it's Ukraine. It's free. You can certainly pay to subscribe if you want. I would appreciate that because it helps support my work. As I said, I'm doing this free, full time. So all the different ways you guys help me with gifts here on TikTok and YouTube. And you're back again, Barky girl. Hello. Do you want to come up? Come up. But Sasha will attack you. I know. Come here. You know how this goes. Come here. Come here before Sasha kills you. Come here. No, you're okay, Sasha. She's okay. I got you. Okay. There we go. Welcome. Look who's back. Thank you. What a surprise. She's such a little demanding biatch, this one. God. And she licks. I mean, she's such a licker. It's like, oh, you want to just lay down and chill, okay? Now she's licking the chair. I guess that's better than nothing. Okay, I'm back. So Discord, you can pay if you want. You don't have to, but if you do, I appreciate the support. There's a monthly subscription you can get. The monthly is kind of nice because it gives you access to our VIP auction. I do a number of auctions there of cool stuff from Ukraine. Half the profits go to Ukraine. We've been using it for the military and humanitarian stuff too. Half of it goes to support my work because, again, I'm doing this full time for free and no one's paying me. So it literally is my job, and I'm able to make money to keep doing this via things like the auctions and your guys' gifts and everything. So if you become a paying member, you get access to the VIP auctions, which are nice because it's an extra auction that only you guys get. The regular members don't. We have a weekend thing we do, except this weekend we're not because we're all getting together to watch Eurovision. But normally Saturday morning we get together and we hang out, and it's only for the paid Discord subscribers and the paid TikTok subscribers. So that's nice. But overall, like I said, it's just it's fun. It's a nice crowd. We've got about 2,000 people now. And it's just a nice way to support my work. So if you can, I would appreciate it. I always try to get maybe 2 people per show to sign up on the Discord for pay. if you can, like I said, I appreciate it. Check it out via the link in my profile. Thank you for the fireworks, David. That helps too. But check out the link in my profile on TikTok or discord.aravosis.com. You guys have my last name on the screens. The one thing I will tell you is if you're going to sign up on your computer, because if you do it by phone, Androids don't work by phone for some reason to sign up. Only iPhones, but the iPhone will charge you 30% more if you're using your phone. And this is the same thing for, by the way, I always like to give this tip for the TikTokers. If you sign up on your phone for Discord and you pay, or if you sign up on your iPhone and you try to use on TikTok to buy those coins or whatever it is, the things you use to buy the gifts on TikTok, you will get like 30% more for your money if you get them on your computer or whatever the difference is. Basically, they make up for the difference because Apple Store charges 30% fee for businesses that do transactions. So TikTok takes that into account when they do the transaction to give you your coins to buy gifts. And the same thing happens with Discord when you sign up. If you do it via your phone, you're not getting nearly as good a bargain as you do on your computer. So for all of those, use your computer and then use your phone and buy the gifts and everything, but it's with coins that you already bought earlier. So that's my tip I'm going to keep telling the TikTokers because I did not know this, and it's nice because trust me, look at the difference. You're going to die when you see the difference. It's great. I mean, you can really, arbitrage your TikTok. So anyway, guys, check out my Discord, discord.aravosis.com. As I said, you don't even have to use the Discord. Just go and sign up. It's a nice monthly payment. And when you want to cancel, you can cancel. But I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Let's keep going. U.S. senators, including Democrat Dick Durbin, which is interesting because he's a top Biden ally, have accused the Pentagon of refusing to help the International Criminal Court investigate the war crimes of Vladimir Putin, which is interesting. I'm not sure how it works for iPads. You'll have to try it, Sherazad, yourself. I really don't know. But just be careful. Like I said, you'll see when you click through my Discord, it'll tell you, for example. It'll tell you how much it should be and how much it is if they're charging you too much. So if it's the same as I tell you, it should be $7.99 basically for the lowest one. If it's $10.50, they're charging you too much. All right. So so the Pentagon is refusing to help the International Criminal Court investigate war crimes against Ukraine, basically the war crimes of Russia against Ukraine. The State Department's helping. U.S. Department of Justice is helping. The Pentagon won't. I will say this at the risk of offending the Biden fans. It's not like we live in a dictatorship. Even a dictatorship, the Pentagon it responds to the president. They're not doing that because Biden has told them not to do it. They don't do it on their own. That's not the way things work in this country. If the two agencies are helping and the Pentagon's not, it's because Biden said these two agencies will help and the Pentagon isn't. So, again, I'm not going to go on my Biden rant. Financial Times reports today that the United States has, on your iPad, is $7.99. Okay, good. Thanks, Chris. Sorry, Chris just checked over at Twitch on his iPad. I'm assuming you're a he, could be she, Chris. $7.99, which is the price it should be for the lowest one. So good. That's good to hear. Thank you, Chris. Financial Times. The U.S. is accusing South Africa of secretly and illegally selling weapons and ammunition to Russia and putting it on a sanctioned boat back in December that went from South Africa to Russia. South Africans are going oh, really? Who knew? Really bad. I mean, South Africa's been in a really weird position because they're trying to play both sides. They're claiming they're in the middle, but they're not in the middle at all. They're siding with Russia in this war, clearly, but now giving weapons and ammunition. And mind you, South Africa too, South Africa just overthrew colonial power, white people, whatever. And now they're basically helping white imperialists attack their neighbors. Really, South Africa? I mean, within 30 years, you literally became the bad guys. I mean, siding with imperial, it's just, man, that stuff just ticks me off. Any case, Japan's finance minister has said that Japan's going to give $1 billion with a B to help Ukraine's neighbors finance to deal with the refugees from Ukraine, which is great. $1 billion is a lot of money. A Russian army commander has been accused of killing a Ukrainian woman after she refused his romantic advances. It's a long, I'm thinking I don't even want to get into the story. It's sick, but just to show you the kind of stuff that's out there. The Italian press is reporting, and I suspect Zelensky's not happy about this. The Italian press is reporting that Zelensky is possibly going to meet with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni on Saturday and with the Pope as well. Typically, Zelensky doesn't like his travels reported in advance because of security reasons. So, who knows? Russia has threatened the International Criminal Court's judges. This was kind of wild. This was from Sky News. Listen to this. Russia's in. No, actually, this might not have been Sky News. Thank you, Hazel. I thought it was Sky News, but now I'm thinking might be CNN. I think this is CNN, actually. Russia's investigative committee will soon put on the country's. Oh my God, this has to be CNN just by the language. Will soon put on the country's wanted list. Oh God. The judges of the International Criminal Court who issued an, okay, I need to tell you this in English, forget CNN. Russia is saying they're going to put the judges from the International Criminal Court, the judges who issued the arrest warrant against Vladimir Putin for stealing the Ukrainian children, for kidnapping them and trying to turn them into Russians. Totally, horrific war crime, but also genocide, because the whole idea is they're trying to take Ukrainian children and wipe them out. And basically wipe out all of Ukraine's next generation, right? Turn them into Russians and Ukraine ceases to exist. So it's not just a war crime, it's genocide. Well, the Russians are going to put on their most wanted list the judges from the court, from the International Criminal Court. What a great way to show the world that you're not a backwards third world despot garbage of a country by basically threatening judges who work in human rights law. Okay, thank you, Louis, for the hearts there. And finally, this story made me laugh too. It's not funny, but it's funny. One sec, some water and we'll go. And then we'll do the Q&A. A Russian court fined Alphabet, which is, Google's parent company, 3 million rubles or $38,000 today for failing to delete YouTube videos it said promoted LGBT propaganda and false information about Russia's war in Ukraine. Russian prosecutors said Google had refused to remove several videos posted on YouTube, including one from a blogger deemed a foreign agent by Moscow. They've got to be kidding me. Deemed a foreign agent by Moscow. And the video was about how same-sex couples raise children and about the gay community or the LGBT community in St. Petersburg, Russia. So, okay. Forget the children thing. They ordered Google to remove a video from YouTube that was simply a video, like a documentary about gay people, gay and trans people in Russia. That was it. It was a documentary about gay and trans people in St. Petersburg, and Russia said that violates the law. Again, this is the kind of dictatorship Russia's turned into. This is the kind of speech that is illegal. You can't even just do a YouTube video that's just looking at the gay and trans community in Russia. You can't do that because that makes them look normal, and making them look normal is against the law. But I love that they threatened Google. Can you imagine Google, of all things, threatening Google to remove a video because it's gay, and Google going, I don't think so. Now, what I'm curious about is what happens with all this money thing. I'm suspecting, because remember, Russia took, they seized 10 million in Google's assets or something. I wonder if they're not doing this to just justify keeping all of Google's assets, is my guess. But anyway, that's it for the news. Thank you for the paw there. Who's that? Kathleen. We also have a store.aravosis.com. You guys can find it via aravosis.com at the bottom there. You guys can find it via the links in my profile. Kathleen, you're crazy with the pause. Thank you for all of that. Thank you. You guys can find the link in my profile, or just go to aravosis.com and you'll see the link for my store. Thank you, Marcy. The store's got a lot of cool Ukrainian stuff, and the same thing, all the Ukrainian stuff in the store, I take 50% of the profits and send them to Ukraine. And lately we've been using it to help the military, buying camouflage nets. We've helped them buy drones. I'm suspecting we're going to use the money that's coming in this week to help buy the truck that I've been telling you about, the pickup truck that we're getting for Ukrainian National Guards troops. Thank you, Happy Beach, for that. All right, guys, let's do the questions. Give me questions. All right, so throw some questions on the screen. I will pull up the TikTok questions here on my Q&A. And please do keep the gifts coming on TikTok and YouTube, please. Hang on here. Boom, Q&A. Russia's getting cheap drones. How much is the cost for the rockets that are shooting them down? That's an issue. Basically, and hey, thank you, Hazel, for that. And the Ukrainians know this, that basically they've got to be very careful in terms of what equipment they're using. It's not just drones. Overall, the Russians would be happy to basically have the Ukrainians use all of their missiles and everything else against the cheapest stuff the Russians have. And the cheapest stuff probably is the drones coming in. The drones are $10,000 or could even be a $2,000 drone, depending what it is. You'd love to have somebody use a $50,000 missile to take it down, or a $2 million cruise missile, right? So the Ukrainians know that, and clearly NATO would have helped them set up a system for identifying stuff so they don't do that. I don't know that we're ever going to hear the news either way of how well it's going, because that may be too much of a war detail. Thank you, Hedges, for the hedgehog. But it's a good point, because it's a point that they've had to worry about from the beginning, which is making sure they know what's coming in, how dangerous it is, and then what they're going to use to attack it, so it's not, outweighing the, like I said, you don't use $1 million missile to take down a $10,000 drone, basically, Ah. Another question. Do you think in Russia there's a resistance working inside Russia that's against the war? There's something going on. Because clearly somebody's been blowing things up in Russia. And I don't mean like all the time. Sometimes the stuff blowing up in Russia, I think, are just, things blow up. There's a fire, right? I mean, sometimes there's just fires, and it's not just the resistance. It's not, meaning it's an accidental fire. It's not a arson necessarily, right? But we know in Belarus, for example, we had a number of train tracks getting blown up, and they clearly doesn't look like it was Ukrainians, right? It was Belarusians trying to help out. It sure looks like somebody in Russia is trying to help out. Clearly, somebody in Russia is killing far-right activists. Absolutely. There's 3 of them now that have been attacked. 2 of them were killed, and 2 of them were bombed. Remember car bomb with that Daria Dugina? One of them was that Russian military blogger, but who was a far-right nut, kind of in cahoots with Prigozhin, the oligarch in charge of the Wagner Group. He got blown up in Prigozhin's cafe. And the latest was this guy, I forget exactly who he was, but the guy that got blown up, but he survived, but his driver, I think, and security guy got killed. That's 3 in 4 or 5 months. That to me feels like somebody's targeting far-right nationals. Now, Russia being Russia, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's Russians who oppose the war, right? It could be Putin's people who think the far-right nationalists are too much of a risk, because now that they know they're going to lose the war eventually, or to some degree, they're certainly not going to win the way they thought they'd win. The far-right nationalists are the people most dangerous to Putin. They're the ones who have got the base of supporters that want, victory or nothing. So they could be the most dangerous people for Putin. He could be having them killed. But nonetheless, there's clearly people, we know a lot of them are also arrested and going to jail, people that had thrown like Molotov cocktails, like firebombs at recruitment centers in Russia. A lot of them are in a lot of trouble right now. I mean, like 15 years in jail or something for that. I saw a picture of one guy the other day, just a young guy who, to his credit, was, trying to take on the dictatorship, and he's going to jail for a long time. So they do exist, which is good. They do exist, but you're fighting it takes a lot of bravery in a dictatorship. Craig Prescott over in the UK. I wonder if we Brits and the US have been working in tandem all along regarding missiles. Thank you, pediatric nurse, for the flowers. Very pretty. It's like good cop, bad cop to wrong foot the Russians whilst I love that you guys say whilst we get the logistics in order. Maybe. I mean, maybe. I hope so. Maybe. Look, clearly we're working together. I mean, the Brits are not going to move ahead and do this without checking with the Americans. They wouldn't. They can, right? Legally, they can. They're an independent country. But Britain and America's relationship is like this. We're the best friends of countries. We're each other's closest ally. So they wouldn't do it. And the U.S. is the lead partner in this coalition. Britain wouldn't do that for that reason as well to us. Just out of fear of also the coalition falling apart, that each country starts to go, well, I don't care what you want. I'm going to do it anyway, because eventually coalitions fall apart that way, right? Because you don't want to be part of a coalition that's giving weapons that you think are too dangerous, for example, right? So there's clearly cooperation. I'll put it that way. I would love it if it's a good cop, bad cop routine. In other words, the U.S. says, we're not going to do it, and Britain says, we'll do it. Honestly, the simpler explanation, thank you, Lee Shaw, for that. The simpler explanation to me, it feels like the Brits have just been wonderfully ahead of the curve. All along, the Brits have been willing to do stuff that the rest of the coalition hasn't. I mean, it depends who you talk to. The Poles as well, right? The Estonians, the Baltics, they're not the only ones. But with tanks, the Brits led the lead. Absolutely led the lead, right? I mean, that was no question. And certainly with this, forget it. I mean, they actually, I think, talked about this months ago. So I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I would hope you're right, Craig. It doesn't feel like it though, but I appreciate the question. But yeah, I'm not convinced, but it would be nice. Sorry, make sure. Okay, hang on. Yep, there was another. Oop, hang on. Oh, Anthony, there you are. You're right there. Is it possible for Ukraine to tell Russia, stop killing our citizens or the bridge comes down? Yes, it's possible. Yes. I don't know. I don't know if Russia cares. I mean, it's, I guess the problem is in the end, Russia's not going to stop, right? Like it sure would be great. I mean, it would be great for Ukraine to say, not even to say, imagine Ukraine takes half those cruise missiles it gets from the Brits and just takes down that. But I mean, literally blows that bridge up so there isn't a thing standing. Now, that would probably be stupid. Thank you, Inspired Woman, for the corgi. That would probably be stupid because as much as it would feel good to obliterate Putin's little pet bridge, because it's his favorite little bridge, you really only need to take down maybe two sections of it, like two different parts, because then they've got to fix two parts and maybe that takes longer, or really just one part. You got to take down one part really well, because look what happened this last time. It screwed them up for a month or two. Because also, actually, even better, use as few missiles as possible, take down the road, take down the railroad. It'll take them a few months to get it back up. And when they get it back up, use as few missiles as possible and take it down again. But so I don't know. I mean, you could threaten them, though. You could. But it also might just be more beneficial just to take it down anyway. Because I guess my point is that I don't think Putin is so worried about the bridge that he'd end the war over it. You know what I mean? That's the thing. He'd end the war over his life, sure, but you know what I mean? I just don't think the bridge is enough. And that's true too. The Russians want to use the bridge to flee. That's true. Now that's interesting. Amcrep says, do you think it's worth leaving the bridge partly intact so they can retreat? That's interesting. I mean, the thing is, I would say no, because the Russians are still using the bridge to get supplies to Crimea. And in the end, there's two things. Supplies are coming across the bridge to go to Crimea, but also to Kherson up here as well, which the Ukrainians want to get. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit with Zaporizhia back and forth because it's close enough. Once you start getting here, then you're dealing more with supplies coming from Russia, which is all here, right? But once you get down here, this is water here. Once you get down here, it's probably more convenient. Certainly Kherson, I know, and Crimea are cutting from the bridge. So for them to eventually take Crimea, but even to take Kherson, you want to cut this off. You really want to cut it off. Now, I would also say, thank you, user 3754. I would also say, there's an advantage in cutting the bridge off because you're not just cutting off the military's retreat, you're cutting off the civilian retreat. There's 2 million Russians who are squatting in Crimea. Ever since the Russians invaded, 1 million Ukrainians fled because who wanted to live under a Russian dictatorship, and 2 million Russians came in because they brought their own people in to basically squat, to take the place of the Ukrainians and say, look, it's ours now, right? So try to take it back. We own it, kind of thing. You do want them to leave. Thank you, Kanowski, for the duck. But there is a certain joy in videos of Russians just trying to flee to the ferry boat and leaving all their belongings behind. In any case, I think it's more important exactly. Colin is saying it's war. It should be blown up. I agree with Colin. I think it's far more important to blow it up as it's the supply line, the main supply line that's coming from Russia into Crimea and into Kherson, two of the key regions. So they would want to blow it up. Yeah, they would. Beep, beep, beep. What we got here? That is true. So Mike is saying Storm Shadow, the cruise missiles that the Brits gave the Ukrainians, are 30 years old and probably were going to be mothballed anyway. They were talking about upgrading them, is what I was reading today. In the next few years, would the U.S. provide similar 30-year-old cruise missiles and keep the newer ones for Taiwan? Who knows? Vlad's TikTok handle is... I follow him on TikTok. Can't you guys check out who I follow? It's V Napriv Naprico or something, or Naprico V. Check who I follow on TikTok and see. I follow 100 people, but you'll see Vlad's. It's 6 letters. V Napri not Privi, something like that. You'll find it. I don't know what's going on with Biden. I do not understand why Biden is refusing to give Ukraine the weapons, why he's refusing to give them the long-range missiles. As I said, the reasons they kept giving was that they were afraid Ukraine was going to attack Russia with them. Well, then why would he be okay with the Brits giving the weapons? Because the same weapons, because Ukraine could still attack Russia and then there'd be nuclear war, right? So that's not it. He was then afraid that Putin would get so angry that he would do something horrific, nuclear, chemical, biological. Well, okay. If Putin's going to go nuclear because America gives Ukraine missiles that go 200 miles, Putin's going to go nuclear if Britain gives Ukraine missiles that go 200 miles. Why is Biden okay with the Brits doing it? I mean, there's something going on. Maybe it is the good cop, bad cop. Maybe it's we prefer the Brits versus us. Not prick V. There you go. That's what it is. Yep. But there's something going on that I don't understand. So it's hard for me to even guess how you win Biden over. Look, in the end, I've said this, I think Biden is too afraid of Putin. Biden, and this is because of Jake Sullivan, his national security advisor, and also probably because of General Milley, the chairman, our top general at the Pentagon. They're afraid of Putin. And when I say afraid of Putin, whatever. I mean, they're afraid of what Putin will do. They're afraid of making Putin angry. They're afraid Putin will become erratic and use his nukes. Whatever it is, I think it's BS. I think they're way too, I mean, I read an article today, I think it was on CNN. I think it is CNN that put it on the Discord. And the latest is that the U.S. is going around the world trying to find Russian. We don't have enough Russian spies in jail. So the U.S. is going around the world trying to find a Russian spy that's a high enough level that we can trade them to Putin for our two hostages that he's holding, Paul Whelan and Gershkovich. I'll pronounce his name correctly, but Evan, the Wall Street Journal reporter. I read this and I was going, okay, feels a little bit like we're paying off terrorists. Worries me a little bit because I said it with Brittany Griner too. Glad we got her go, but you just put a price on the head of every American. And guess what? Then he went ahead and he took the Wall Street Journal reporter. Well, now we're scouring the world to find spies that we can use to give to Russia as alms to the dictator. And it throws in a line 4 paragraphs down and says, the U.S. is also looking into the possibility of lessening some of the sanctions to buy Russia off. So Russia will release the hostages. Do you understand why this man drives? I voted for him. I mean, do you understand why this man drives me crazy? Right? You don't lessen the freaking sanctions because Putin is taking Americans hostages. First of all, it has nothing to do with Ukraine. You don't lessen the sanctions, period. But also, you just put an even bigger price on every American's head. You're going to lessen the sanctions? Good. Then why doesn't he just kidnap 100 Americans and make it a free for all? I mean, I want these guys free, but this is ridiculous. It screams weakness. It screams, I'm afraid of you. And it emboldens somebody like Putin, who's a bully. It emboldens him to do more. Every time you sit there with Putin and go, okay, right? It emboldens you to do more. One of the things we heard, by the way, the other thing I heard yesterday was there was a report and we thought about this. Actually, months ago, I mentioned this as a possibility, that there was a report that the Russians told the Americans privately that giving the ATACMS, which are the American versions of the cruise missiles American version, meaning they go the same distance of the British ones that ended up being given to Ukraine. If the Americans give the American version of the missiles to Ukraine, that will cross a red line for Russia, and who knows what Russia will do. This came out last night. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But it was a report last night. And a lot of the defense guys jumped up and went, since when do we let Russia decide what weapons we do and don't sell to our allies? Right? I mean, literally, because they called you and said, I'm threatening you. I'm sorry. Clearly you don't want, you don't want nuclear war. I get it. All that kind of stuff. Right? So I'm not saying you sit there and you go, F you, right? This kind of stuff. But Jesus Christ. I mean, Jesus Christ. A mini recap, 6 Evo, that's going to be a bit too much. That's a bit too much. I mean, I will say the main stories we've been talking about, which I actually talked about right now, we've been talking a lot today about, that was a super chat question. We talked a lot today about the British missiles and how the big story with the British missiles, which I was saying earlier, is they cost about $2 million, $2.5 million, 2 million pounds, 2.3 million euros per missile. That's a lot. That means I wonder how many the Ukrainians are actually getting, because they're so expensive, right? If they were $50,000 missiles, they might get a lot more of them, right? So that's going to be a problem. But also, if they're that expensive, it's going to limit what targets they're going after. The Ukrainians will not want to use, as somebody said earlier, you don't use a $2 million missile to go after a $10,000 drone, right? But do you use a $2,000 missile to go after ammunition storage? Does it depend how much ammunition? I don't know, right? A bridge? Maybe. Ships in the harbor? Maybe, right? So it's, yeah. Anyway, I would say that's the really big story we've been talking. There's a lot of other stuff I'll recap when we finish, but I would say that's the big story that I think is very interesting, but also it's still good news. I mean, it's great news, obviously, that the Brits are doing this. I think it's heroic of them. And I think they have been sort of the cutting edge, and they've been able to sort of push Putin, which has been nice. Push Biden, which has been nice. Okay, let me see. Ben, I thank you for that. Brits in the U.S. Oh, okay, CK, thank you for that. Thank you, by the way. Lovely CK. I appreciate that. Okay, Anthony, we got you on the bridge question. Bakhmut on the map, we did. What did I miss so far? I think I caught up. There we go. Thanks, Roshan, for saying that. I think I did miss one or two. Actually, CKs I had not seen, so thank you for that. All right. Boom. Super chat, Steven. Did I not just do Steven? I hope I did Steven, because I don't know where it is now. Well, you tell me. Did I not just get Steven? If I didn't, we'll go and find it again, or somebody can find it again. Let me find another Discord question. We'll do a few more of these and then call it quits. Beep, beep, beep. Another Discord question. Has the hypersonic missile hitting a bunker with NATO officials? It never happened. No, never happened. That's why it hasn't been discussed. It's a Russian disinformation. There's some weird Russian talking point, and honestly, always makes me suspicious, because I got to tell you, the way you framed your question, you sure sound like a Russian troll, big boy. Thank you for the gift there, Ellie. There's this weird Russian propaganda point they put out of American generals, no, NATO generals, not just American. All these different generals from all over NATO were in a secret bunker hidden in Ukraine, and the Russians blew it up and killed all the foreign generals, and they all died, and no one's talking about it. Well, no one's talking about it because it didn't happen, because unlike in Russia, the rest of us fight wars for the 21st century, and you don't need to be on the ground in the middle of Ukraine, in the middle of the battlefield in a bunker, in order to help the Ukrainians fight the war. I mean, you understand, like, our drone operators literally operate from the United States. Some of them, they're like in facilities in the US. And at least that's from what I was told. And they're able to like operate the drones around the world. Like, you don't need to be in the battle unless it's World War I. You don't need to be in the battlefield. And I realize for Russia, they are fighting like World War I. We don't. And that's true. That's true, copies. Unlike Russia, we also don't call everybody a general. So we would be we're a little more careful with our generals too. Unlike, the Russians kind of get everybody killed. We don't. In any case, but I was telling you guys because somebody brought it up. But again, I think they were a troll by the way they brought up, have you discussed this fact? Well, no, but also you guys need to know because it's out there. It's one of those, like I said, it's one of those things. Well, I don't want to say the Russians are good at it. I don't know if the Russians are good or bad at propaganda, because they're liars, but I think the Soviets were good liars. The Russians, I don't think they're very good at this. Could Wagner's meltdown stem from the bombing of his cafe? Maybe. I don't know. What we don't know is Prigozhin, who's the head of the Wagner group. We just don't know if his sort of temper tantrums that he's having are real or not. He keeps claiming that he's not getting enough ammunition. Nobody knows if it's real. I mean, there could be some weird thing going on where somehow he and Putin have gamed this out, and somehow they think it benefits the Russians for him to pretend like there's discord and all of this. I don't quite get it, because what Prigozhin is doing, even if it is like some plot, like he's working with Putin and pretending that they hate each other, whatever. He's putting out videos showing dead Russian troops and saying the Ministry of Defense did this. They don't care about our Russian boys. That is not a good. Did it last week? That is not a good thing to tell Russian troops on the eve of the counteroffensive with Ukraine, whether that means it's in 2 days or whether it means it's in 2 months. It's happening sometime in the next few months, probably, right? This counteroffensive. You don't send out pictures of dead bodies of their countrymen saying, this is going to be you. and you don't send it to the so the people in Russia see it as well, because they're already, I mentioned that yesterday, they already are worried about the war being a defeat. So I don't know what's going on with the Prigozhin thing. It's weird. It's weird. He may be losing it a little bit. I mean, it's, whatever it is, I think it's very beneficial. Like, it's very beneficial. Daniel, I'm talking like Trump. Repeat myself. Very beneficial. Daniel O'Neill, thank you as always, Daniel. Tried sending a super sticker, won't work. Edit and try again. Anyway, thanks. You're welcome. Yeah, I don't know that I've ever sent one. Well, I watch my own show, so I haven't really sent one, but thank you on that. Yep, thank you, Hazel, for the confetti. What else we got, guys? I did take an allergy pill before the show, so now my yawning is kicking in. Russian people are in total denial. They may be. They may be. Now this is an interesting point. This is from John S. Should all nations give an ultimatum to Russia that by a certain date, if they're not out of Ukraine, by a certain date, X, Y, and Z, otherwise we will give Ukraine all the weapons they need to finish the job? Yes. Russia has been giving ultimatums from the beginning. They've been freaking out Biden. They've been freaking out NATO. I think they've been freaking out the French and the Germans probably too. You know, Macron and Schultz have not been, well, Schultz has been great lately. The French like to go back and forth. Great, not great. Great, not great. Depends. Right? Brits have been great. Biden, same thing. Biden goes back and forth. I think from the, I hope you want to get you again. From the beginning, we shouldn't have let Putin give us ultimatums. We should have been giving him the ultimatums. We should have told Putin at the beginning. I would have said after Bucha, every war crime like Bucha or whatever, we should have said, okay, Bucha, guess what? You did Bucha, which was the huge war crime we found out about around April 1st or so, March 31st of last year. And we should have said, well, because of Bucha, we're now giving Ukraine HIMARS. And we've got a whole list here of things that you don't want us giving them that they want us to give. And every time you do something horrific, outrageous, war crime, whatever, they're getting another weapon system that you don't want them to get. They're going to get longer range weapon systems. They're going to get better weapon systems. They're going to get more of them. Keep it up. And you can either leave it vague like that or whatever. But we should have. Or like you said, we should have given, or you could have given an ultimatum. And you say, you've got 2 months. You better be out of there in 2 months, or we're giving Ukraine everything it needs. And that includes fighter jets and tanks and everything else. But I mean, you know, this is again, I feel like we're dealing with children or a puppy to some degree. You know, you've got to kind of rub their nose in it a little bit. You've got to say, okay. I feel like it's the little kid, like the kid mouthing off, and your parents are like, okay, you're grounded for a week. No, 2 weeks. No, 3 weeks. Want to do it again? And then the kid goes, right? I feel like we should have done it with Russia. We should have been like, great, Bucha. Oh, now we see Izium. Would you like, Mariupol, you bombed the kids' theater. Now they're getting stingers. Oh, you bombed the women's hospital in Mariupol. Now they're getting, Patriot missiles. Keep going. Keep talking, Vlad. But you just keep upping the ante. And also the value of that too is let them say you've escalated. You're tying it to war crimes. You're like, I escalated? You literally bombed 600 children and women with the word children written on them, and you killed them. I'm escalating? Anyway. So, no, I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely. Thank you, Hazel. Oh, the train. That's very cool. The train. I have seen that before. The train's a nice one. Thank you, Hazel. Very annoying. Did Russia attack Ukraine's main airports and high government offices? They went after the airports. Thank you, Hussein, for that. They went after the airports. They've not gone after the high government offices. And honestly, people are still trying to figure out why. It's weird. It is now, maybe there was an ultimatum, right? I mean, the airports, they tried and they kind of screwed up because the American intelligence was, for example, at the beginning of the war, it was very pivotal what went on. There's a big article somewhere I read about this months ago, but it was very pivotal. Is it Homstol or Homstomel or something, but the airport that's north of Kyiv, and really pivotal sort of battle there. The Americans knew the Russians were coming. The Russians were going to come and destroy all the Ukrainian planes. The Americans knew, whether we had spies or eavesdropping or whatever, we warned the Ukrainians like early. The Ukrainians got the planes, and then they were kind of lying in wait for the Russians. Anyway, it was bad for the Russians, what happened at that airport. But they've been trying to knock out airports around the country. The problem is, well, it's not easy. The Russians, I mean, they've got their bombs, but they don't have, their Air Force has not been able to operate inside Ukraine necessarily. Thank you for the train, Hazel. In any case, Hostomel, that's what I thought. But the government officials, they haven't gone. Okay, they tried to kill Zelensky in the first few days. They sent a hit squad after Zelensky that was in Kyiv, but they didn't blow up the government buildings. They didn't blow up the Defense Department, all the ministries, the parliament. At least initially, it was clearly because they were hoping to take over the country. They thought they were going to have, the entire country in 10 days. And some of the thinking was that within 4 months, they were going to just turn Ukraine into Russia, which I'm sure they would anyway. The part that they're occupying now, they've annexed and they claim it's Russia. They would have just said all of Ukraine was Russia, right? So they didn't want to necessarily bomb all the institutions because initially they wanted to put their own puppet in charge of the country, and they wanted their own puppets in the parliament. So you wouldn't really want to bomb it for that. Now, I'm not sure what they're up to. I don't know. I mean, I'm still surprised they haven't. Maybe did we threaten them? Is there something are we holding the F-16s back? I don't know. Like something that we said you better not? I don't know. But I don't quite know why they haven't, to be honest. It's a conundrum, I think, for a lot of us. All right. What else we got? All right, I'll look for another question or two. We may want to wrap up soon. It's quarter after the hour, so I don't want to go on forever here. Well, the Russian army sales, who is this? Is this Paul? I thought I recognized your thing, Paul. Thank you, PS Pam Pam, for that. Paul WLC is saying, or Paul LC, have you seen the Russian arms sales are tanking, and apparently they can't get them back. Well, a big problem for Russian military sales have been, A, their weapons seem to suck. That did not help. B, the fact that people, because of the sanctions, they can't do transactions. The Russian arms sales with India. Thank you, Marino, for that. Russian arms sales with India. There's $2 billion with a B, $2 billion worth of arms sales that have been like on hold for a year because they can't figure out how to do the exchange because of international sanctions. The Indians apparently had offered doing it in rupee, right? The Indian currency. And the Russians were like, we don't want a bunch of rupee. So it's just like, it's been a disaster. So that's been great. So that's been a huge problem right there, I think, for them trying to do the business. Now, they've been able to sell oil. They have been able to do oil and natural gas, right? They have sold a ton of that to India and a ton to China, but I'm not sure where this kicks in, where all of a sudden the sales to India, like the 2 billion, those are arms, I think. That was weapons. That wasn't oil. So I'm not sure how they're doing the oil, why the oil seems to be working, but the arms sales aren't. In any case, yes, it also just doesn't help when you lose wars, because then people kind of go, are yours really the weapons I want? Right? Let me see here. So real quick, maybe I'll end with this one. Samuel's saying, I'm a Brit. Oh, hey, Samuel, I'm recognizing you. I recognize other people, but I don't think I've seen you a lot before, but you had a question yesterday or the day before. I'm a Brit, so I'm unfamiliar with Trump's position on Ukraine. Do you think he would scale back support? He would want to, yeah. Trump, I said at the top of the hour, Trump refused to take a position on the war. He refused to say that he would support Ukraine, that he wants Ukraine to win. He refused to call Putin a war criminal. Trump does not like Ukraine. He doesn't like Zelensky. He thinks, he believes some crazy plot that Zelensky got together with Hillary Clinton and tried to cost him the election in 2016. It's crazy. Rudy Giuliani was helping with this. It's crazy. But, Trump being Trump, if he's told this conspiracy theory, he believes it. And it's a conspiracy theory that was attacking Trump. So Trump hates Zelensky and Ukraine now. Also, Zelensky is the guy that Trump went to and said, I'd like you to do me a favor, though, to basically find dirt about Joe Biden, basically lies about Joe Biden and Ukraine to give me so I can use it in the 2020 election. Zelensky didn't do it, and Trump got impeached over it. So, Trump hates Zelensky now. And Trump has some weird, creepy thing for Putin and Russia. He does. I mean, he's got a fetish for Eastern Europe to start with. He clearly does. But he's really got something weird for Putin. He does. So the concern is, and his movement, he's built a movement of people, and Fox News jumped on it, Tucker Carlson certainly, but Fox News overall jumped on it. His MAGA movement hates Ukraine. They think Ukrainians, it's all the Russia stuff. Ukrainians are a bunch of Nazis. They're thieves. Zelensky has taken all this money and built palaces. And you're like, what? They think the U.S. had biological warfare labs. That's why Russia invaded. I mean, they believe all the crazy stuff. Um, he would gladly cut off all aid to Ukraine. Yes. The question is whether for some reason his all the top generals say we're going to quit, and that convinces him not to. Maybe if he becomes president again, but he will certainly try to cut off all aid. Yes. And I would say he'd probably be happy just to give all of Ukraine to not he probably, Trump would be happy. Trump doesn't care about Ukraine. He wants to curry favor with Putin. I think it's because he wants business deals. I mean, with Trump, there's usually a personal reason here. He clearly wants something from Putin. So Putin's what matters. Zelensky doesn't, right? Zelensky's the little guy. Zelensky's the, I won't even say it as far as Trump, but you get what I mean. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to wrap it up. It's already 20 after. Let's call it quits. I will do this news summary. Let me remind you guys that, as I said, we are finishing up our fundraiser tonight. I want you to go right now. If you can afford, this is not for me. If you can afford it, go to my friend Vlad's PayPal. Sorry, Lisa. Lisa had a quick question. Sorry, Lisa. Sorry. I even put it on the screen so I wouldn't forget it. Hang on. Lisa did have a super chat. As a woman who used to wake up and check to make sure every morning Putin didn't take out Zelensky, I think Putin was told if he took him out, he'd be next. I really feel like some kind of threat came through on that. I wonder if there was, because like you said, it doesn't make sense that they didn't take him out. Doesn't make sense. It just feels like it. Yeah. I'm with you. I think on that one, the U.S. did well. Biden did well on that one, if that's what he did. Because it's weird that why wouldn't you try to, if you took, Zelensky out in the first days of the war, why wouldn't you keep trying? Now, having said that, Zelensky's become such a folk hero internationally that if he's smart, he wouldn't take out Zelensky, because that's just a guarantee. He blows up Zelensky, and Ukraine's getting fighter jets, they're getting F-16s, I think, if he does that. You know what I mean? They're getting the American ATACMS, the long range missiles and everything else. So, all right. So yes, I was going to tell you really quick, the trucks. So we're doing a fundraiser for pickup trucks. Go to my profile on TikTok, click the Linktree link. It brings you my friend Vlad Naprokovsky's Gmail, which is his PayPal. Use that, go on PayPal, use that information, donate to Vlad. Same thing for you guys here. The Vlad's is right there. We are raising money but we need another $830. We are raising money to buy a pickup truck for Ukrainian troops who are being deployed Sunday night. Their vehicles were destroyed in Bakhmut. They've been fighting in Bakhmut for a while now. As you know, big fights there. Thank you, Achilles, for that. They just got orders. They're deploying Sunday night. So they need a new truck. Reached out to us, and again, the truck is for their military missions. We said we'd help, and there's $830 left. If you can help, I'd appreciate it. 100% of the money is going to Ukraine. 100% of the money is going to these guys for their truck. You can rest assured, I'm not taking a dime. Vlad's not taking a dime. If you can help, it's not that much more money. If you guys can help, I'd appreciate it. And again, it's literally going to help buy a pickup truck for the troops that are fighting. Whether this is now the counteroffensive or not, I don't know, but clearly important what's going on. If you can help, I'd appreciate it. Again, go to my profile on TikTok and you will find the Stephen. Go to my profile on TikTok and you will find the Linktree link. Click it. Vlad's PayPal comes up. For you guys here, you've got Vlad's PayPal on the bottom, but you also can go to aravosis.com and get it that way as well. All right, guys. And Stephen did a super chat question. Where is Kyiv on the map? Kyiv is right here, Stephen, on the map. Now you know. The more you know, Stephen. So thank you for that. All right. Thanks, guys. All right, let me do the quick recap, and then we're going to go. British Eurovision. We are doing a Eurovision Song Contest watch party Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time US here on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and everywhere else here. I will go live at that point, so join us. British missiles are already in Ukraine, and we talked about how their range is up to 300 kilometers. But what's very interesting is they cost $2 million a piece. So clearly Ukraine's going to be careful about using them. Bakhmut, interesting reports that it looks like, interesting reports that the Ukrainians might actually be pushing the Russians back in Bakhmut. Thank you, Kat, for the confetti. Might actually be pushing the Russians back in Bakhmut, which is pretty funny because Putin wanted them to take the town 2 daam ago. So if the Ukrainians are pushing them back, that's not good. More on that Polish missile, just kind of weird, more stuff here. Just Russia fired a missile back in December. It landed in Poland. We're finding out about it now. I think it's because Poland and the U.S. and everybody got together and said, you know what, let's let's not cause trouble right now about this. That's my guess. I think Poland wanted to cause trouble, and the U.S. probably said don't. Ukraine reportedly attacked an electrical substation and an oil depot with drones in 2 parts of Russia. There was an assassination attempt carried out by Ukrainian partisans in Melitopol. Donald Trump told CNN last night during a town hall that the U.S. is sending too many weapons to Ukraine. He refused to say he wants Ukraine to win the war and refused to label Vladimir Putin a war criminal. U.S. senators have accused the Pentagon of refusing to help the International Criminal Court do its investigation of Vladimir Putin's war crimes in Ukraine. The Financial Times says the U.S. has accused South Africa of illegally shipping weapons and ammunition to Russia. Japan's finance minister announced that Japan is sending $1 billion in financial aid to Ukraine's neighbors to help with refugees. A Russian army deputy commander has been accused of killing a Ukrainian woman after she refused his romantic advances. Zelensky may travel to Italy on May 13th and meet with the Italian prime minister and the Pope. Russia is putting the International Criminal Court judges on their most wanted list because the judges issued an arrest warrant for Putin for war crimes in Ukraine. So the Russians are now going to arrest the judges. If the judges ever go on vacation in Siberia, my guess is the judges are probably pretty safe at this point. A Russian court fined Google's parent company Alphabet $38,000 or 3 million rubles. Boy, that tells you a lot right there. 3 million rubles or $38,000 for failing to delete YouTube videos that promoted LGBT propaganda and false information about Russia's military campaign. Google told them to stuff it. All right, guys. Thank you. It's 6:30. We'll skip the Discord. I know I owe you a Discord, but it's getting late. And Kelly has a low battery warning on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. So I will see you guys tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll do another show. And then Saturday, like I said, 3 p.m. Eastern, we will have our hangout to watch the Eurovision for about 4 hours. We did it last. It was fun. Just have it on our TVs, kind of did our thing. Quite fun. And I think that's it. And like I said, go check out my Discord. Go check out, go to my links in TikTok, the Linktree links. You can find my Discord, my Patreon. Not my Patreon, but my PayPal, everything else, if you want to help out. And you guys, it's aravosis.com. You can go there too. And that's it, guys. So thank you all so much. And I'll see you all tomorrow again. All right. Bye. Off to dinner or something.